And good Monday afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore. I'm the owner and publisher of What's Up Noop. And it is October, and with October returns our conversations with the candidates. We've been doing this the last couple of elections, and over the next couple of weeks, we will be chatting with dozens of local candidates. This week's all about Newport. We are chatting with candidates for Newport City Council At-Large, as well as Newport School Committee. Next weekend, we shift to Middletown, and then the following week, we go to Portsmouth. Sprinkled in between, we have gubernatorial candidates, candidates for Secretary of State, candidates for General Treasurer, candidates for Attorney General, Congressional District 1, Congressional District 2. So we have about 60 interviews that we'll be doing this month. So about 30 hours of interviews with candidates this month. And kicking it off is a newcomer to Newport City Council. He is an at-large candidate, and his name is Eames Hamilton Yates Jr. And how are you? Eames, can you hear me? All right.
I can hear you now. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. And I'm not sure. Oh, you are there. Okay. It was frozen up for a second. But welcome, and thank you for kicking this series off. We sent out invites to all the candidates, and you, even though you're a newcomer, jumped on the opportunity. You were the first one, and we appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. It sounds like you have a lot of interviews ahead of you, so happy to get this one out of the way first.
Yes. Well, you're running for Newport City Council At-Large. You're one of 7 candidates. Tell us, who are you?
Eames Hamilton Yates Jr. It's my father's fault, obviously. And just on a personal level, he was one who really instilled in me that no one owes me anything. And so he was a journalist and is a journalist, and I followed in those footsteps and worked for Fox, worked for CBS, worked for Bloomberg TV. But Newport has always been my home. And so family's been here. My life has been here. I've always returned to Newport. And so having now become a small business owner, I own a yoga studio called Love Defeats Fear. The name says it all. I have been motivated to, through the energy that I've seen at the yoga studio, the building community, the just good energy, I want to kick it to the next level and be able to create dialogues without ego to get things done.
Now, I checked out your website, and also knowing a little bit about you, you have a little history in your family in politics that you might have learned a thing or two from over the years.
Yes, my grandfather was in politics for a long time. He served the state for 36 years as senator and accomplished a great deal, obviously for the state, but also the country. The Pell Grants, huge accomplishment. And he was the major teacher, I would say, when it comes to, if you want to get things done, take ego out of the equation and try and find the smartest people, get them at a table, learn everything you can about an issue, and then decide what's best for Newport residents. I mean, that's who I will answer to. Those are my boss, so to speak.
So why did you decide to run for Newport City Council At-Large, and also why right now?
I think that now is a critical time. A lot of permanent residents feel like they're getting priced out of Newport. And as I canvass, I hear more and more about how utility bills are going up. And so an important issue for me is the homestead tax and essentially reducing permanent residence taxes by 2/3 and raising summer residence taxes. This is not meant to be divisive. This is not meant to be combative or punishing the rich. It's simply to articulate that the bulk of the folks that live in the city are feeling the hurt. And I answer to the folks that are just trying to pay their bills, that are looking for a little help. Just in doing my own research, I was looking online and it's $21.50. Oops, sorry, phone call. It's 20. Oh yeah, old school.
It's all right.
It's, who knows, you might hear the voicemail. I mean, radical transparency is the whole point of my campaign. So
It's okay.
who knows what
we
we're gonna hear.
we can mute you for a second if the voicemail starts. So
Here, why don't you take us back to where we were?
yeah. Let's see here. We'll let Eames shut that down for a second here. And again, he is running for Newport City Council at Large. And one of those things I haven't thought about in a while and is taking a phone off the hook so people can't call you. Man, that was a thing back in the day.
That. So if it does, I'm bringing it back.
There you
Old
go.
school. But speaking to the homestead tax, again, it's not about punishing the rich. It's not about creating any further division or conflict. It's about trying to help my constituents. And that's why I hope to get your vote. And that's why, to me, it's the first how we can change the city. And the MLK Center, for example, they get less than 3% of their funding from the city and from the state. So to me, it's about finding new ways to generate revenue so that there's no additional burdens or people paying more, and then be radically transparent about where that money is spent. So for example, through generating new lines of revenue, being able to funnel some of that money to the MLK Center, as well as infrastructure, much needed infrastructure repair.
So it's been, let's see here, candidates announced at the end of June, so July, August, September. So it's been 3 full months since candidates declared candidacy. How has it been? What are you hearing out there?
To be honest, I've been canvassing a lot, and the big thing that's come up is the prices of utilities and those bills increasing. So that's something that I've heard a lot about. Affordable housing is a big one. One thing that my grandfather had and always deeply respected was the United States Navy in terms of a relationship and an affiliation. He was in the Coast Guard for a long time. And so perhaps working with the Navy to find any properties that they own that are not being utilized and help veterans who certainly could use a helping hand and provide them some affordable housing. Because in doing my research, $2,150 a month to rent a 450 square foot space in Newport. Not to mention first and last months for security. So that is just ridiculous. It's not reasonable. And I acknowledge and support and welcome the truth that we are very much a tourist-driven city. However, that doesn't mean that Newport residents can be left behind as a result.
You know, if people were looking for an elevator speech, if they want to tell their friends, family, loved ones, enemies, voters about you, they want to sum up your priorities. What, I'm not going to give you a number, but what would you say, you know, name 3 priorities, for example. Just, you know, if you want people to share what your priorities are, what are they?
Homestead tax. I think there should be a recreational marijuana dispensary in Newport with adequate parking away from the already congested downtown area, and be able to create a brand new stream of revenue every drive across the bridge to Fall River to buy marijuana. And so why drive across the bridge and give your tax dollars to, or give your money to Massachusetts? Why not collect that revenue for the city of Newport? And my thought is to only entertain bids that are 13% tax, willing to accept that 13% tax. And so the state would get 7%, which it expects and is already the way it is. And then the city, which usually gets 3%, would get 6%. Now it's 0 now. With that new money, being radically transparent about how it's spent. Infrastructure, money going perhaps to the MLK Center as well. I think that's a good idea. Point is being open about where it's spent. And if you elect me, that is my job, to be as clear to constituents about what the issues are. Regionalization, I support regionalization. I'm going to vote yes, but it's my understanding that it's administrative regionalization. So I'd like to understand a bit more about what that looks like for teachers, what that looks like for students long term. And these are things that are extremely important to me. Affordable housing, which we already touched on. I know I covered more than three, so you got to forgive me for rambling, but I'm passionate about this.
It's okay. That's why I don't tie a number to, because I don't want to restrict somebody or require them to give me three. Some people might only have one. Want to go back to the dispensary for a minute. It sounds like, and this conversation has been had with City Council, that with what you're thinking, the dispensary would likely have to end up in the north end.
I'm willing to explore every possible option. And I think that that's what is so important about getting at a table and having a conversation and talking through those issues, finding out where the best place is. But you got to elect me first. You got to vote for me so that I can make those changes.
And the sample ballot, people can visit vote.ri.gov to see their sample ballot in Newport. It just came out in the last couple of days here, either Friday or today. Question 4 is regarding cannabis. And the question, shall new cannabis-related licenses for businesses involved in the cultivation, manufacture, laboratory testing, and for the retail sale of adult recreational use cannabis be issued in the city of Newport? Some people might be taken back by this question when they see it on the ballot come November 8th, but you're saying you would support that question.
I'm so sorry the internet cut out yet again. It's very windy here. If you could summarize real quick.
Just the cannabis use question. Allowing cultivation, manufacture, laboratory testing, retail sales of adult recreational use cannabis to be issued in the city of Newport. You would approve that. You would support that.
I support that. Yes, because it generates money for the city. And so to me, people who are smoking marijuana are going to continue to do so. The only difference is instead of driving over to Fall River and giving their money to Massachusetts, they're supporting the city of Newport and the infrastructure that exists within our city. So yes, absolutely.
And while we're on the ballot, you touched base on it, and we already know you will support it. But question 5, for those that might be hearing it for the first time, is in reference to the regional school district. And the language is, shall an act pass, blah, blah, blah. An act authorizing the city of Newport and town of Middletown to establish a regional school district, providing for state aid, school housing costs and school housing reimbursement rates for regional high schools, which include incentives, may exceed 80% of debt service. You would say you would approve the regionalization question, which question number 5.
Yes, I'll vote for regionalization. It unlocks a tremendous amount of money that we would otherwise not have access to, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So I think that we need to be transparent in hammering out the details, but there's an expiration date to that. And so if we lose that opportunity, we lose oh my God, the dog came into the room.
Yeah.
I'm a dog guy, what can I say? I'm sorry to.
It's okay. 2 questions on the regionalization. What do you say to those voters that are worried about the focus is the money, the focus is in the education?
That's my concern as well. That's why I mentioned, I understand that this is administrative regionalization, but I've been doing my homework. Granted, I like to have people explain things to me as if I'm a 3rd grader, just so I can really understand them. And I don't have a full picture of what this looks like long-term for students and teachers. So I would like to get more clarity on that. As I said, I've already made it clear on where I stand. However, to your point, there needs to be some more clarity on that. And if you elect me, that's my mission, to find out, to get that clarity and to be very clear about conveying it to you, to other news sources, so that people of Newport can understand exactly where their money is being spent.
One more on school, as one voter or as one potentially city council at large member, where would you like to see the cost savings go? If you could take all that money that is saved and put it somewhere, where would you like to see that money go that is saved from the regional school district?
I would like to explore how the students are best served. So basically, to me, the answer to that is consult with the teachers and figure out exactly what needs to be done in terms of what is lacking, what's missing, where are the deficiencies, and then plugging up those holes. Now, I am not an elected official right now, so I don't have the abilities to really kind of look at the numbers, understand the full picture the way that I plan to in November, late November. And so I, in an ideal world, would like to have the people that are able to articulate what is best for the students be at that table, listen very carefully, and then create that plan. Because to answer your question, that money should go to the students. And it should manifest in whatever way best serves them.
There was a very long, drawn-out charter review process over the last couple months. 5 questions made it on the ballot. Questions 6 through 10. They're pretty much all administrative. They're changing language. If you followed along, what did you think about the charter review process? Do you think there should have been things like some of the things that were proposed by the volunteer committee was term limits, no more wards? How do you think that whole process played out?
Again, forgive me, you cut out a little bit, but I got the basic essential tidbits of what you had mentioned. Honestly, I think it played out the way it played out. I feel like the idea that the most votes creates the mayor, to me, I mean, in theory, that sounds like a democratic process, right? The most votes declares the mayor. But I'm happy to go with the flow and work with people. I'm not about creating conflict. I'm about getting things done. So as of now, a mayor is appointed once all the city council members are in place and elected, and that's fine with me because there's no other choice. And I think that it played out how it did. I don't quite, and I'm just being radically transparent here. There's a lot of stuff that is a bit confusing. And I think that not only I need clarity on, but that voters need clarity on. Because yes, I'm aware of what you just said, but perhaps a lot of folks out there aren't. And if they are, in regards to that issue, I know there's others where they would love to see some more clarity. And that is the core, radical transparency. You will always get the truth. You ask me a question, you will always get the truth, no matter how disturbing it is.
And again, I invite voters, voteri.gov, see the sample ballot, and there are 10 questions on the back. I think many people might be surprised by 10 questions because all the focus is really on one. What's something that the current council has done really well?
Oh man, I mean, I love the current council in the sense that I've met pretty much every single person who's on it and gone to council meetings. I think that, for me at least, they have taken the city into a place where it is a world destination. And that's something that I only think we can amplify. To me, it's the truth. And so, for example, the homestead tax, again, it's not meant to be a punishment or anything like that. But for the folks that would be upset with me, the summer residents, I don't think that those many, many, many multi-million-dollar houses are going to lose tremendous amounts of value because of something such as the homestead tax, which is not going to significantly raise those taxes. But let's be honest, for the people that own $5-6 million houses in Newport, they own a few of those houses, and they're in a very safe position financially when the people who live in the city of Newport are not. And so they contribute in a major way to the economy. And I understand that. And I am deeply, deeply supportive of maintaining that. However, I answer to the constituents, and they have been telling me, yeah, my neighbor just sold his house, or she sold her house for XYZ, and now they're moving out to Tiverton, and even Tiverton's getting expensive. And so I can't help but fall back on that example of $2,150 a month for 450 square feet. How can anyone in the service industry afford that? It's just not feasible. And so
we'll stay there for a minute. I mean, what impact can the council have on housing in the city?
I think that that's something that I need to get on the council before I can fully answer. But to me, not creating, because it's already there, but deepening our relationship with the Navy and with the War College, and finding solutions on how to figure out any underutilized or unused property, identify it, and be able to create a program where we can put veterans in there. And not just veterans, but let's say there's someone who is been working or has been working for 18 months, and they can produce a letter from their employer saying that they've worked XYZ amount of time, they're reliable, and then they could potentially qualify as well. And that would allow people in the service industry to be able to afford living in Newport and not have to commute to Newport. We know how expensive gas can be, and certainly fluctuates. So I'm looking after people trying to just pay their bills, as well as folks who are permanent residents of Newport who feel comfortable, but also feel like they're getting priced out, or that's creeping up around the corner. And the more and more people I talk to, the more and more that comes up. Forgive the repetition, but the utility bills, that comes up. And so these are issues that are in my mind.
We talked about, let's Monday morning quarterback gently here. We talked about what city council has done well. What's something city council has taken an action on lately that you would have liked to have seen go a different way, or if we're going to be frank, has not done well?
Well, I mean, look, getting off the bridge has been a bit of a nightmare for a long time. That construction has been going on for what I think is a long time. And so let's fix that.
Okay.
I mean, that you asked me, and that immediately comes to mind, just simply because of the fact that, upon coming back, it's been a bit hectic, to say the least. And we can all relate to when you're trying to pull off onto that Newport exit, and it's like a quarter mile long.
Yes, it's been quite the process. Mark asks, what specific cuts to Newport City budget would you recommend?
To be honest, I have to get in there and really understand and look at and analyze the budget, because to me, that speaks to the transparency that I want to see. So I have to see the budget in a way that is basically in the context of having a conversation on how we can change it. So were you going to say something I didn't mean to?
Oh, no, please go ahead.
So basically, being able to find, for example, like what jumps out to me. And again, I need to really look at this carefully in the context of being able to have a conversation on how to fix it. But what jumps out to me is, I think we spend a lot of money on consulting. perhaps, what if
Let's see here. I think you just froze up on me there. We'll give you a second to freeze out of this. Let's see if we can take you down, get you back up here. And I'll mention it now, and I'll mention it at the end as well. If you miss any portion of this interview, or if you want to share it, you can catch it afterwards on whatsupnoop.com. All the candidates' interviews will be there, so you can compare, contrast, share, and get a look at what all of the candidates have to say. And are you there? All right, we will try to get him back on here. And I appreciate your questions coming in. If you have a question, you can drop them in the comments. And looks like, well, one of the questions I'm going to ask is, what are we going to do to get high-speed internet to the island? Because obviously this happens often in many different capacities. So we'll see if he joins us back here. We'll give him a couple minutes. Coming up, we have lots of other interviews with candidates. You can go to whatsupnoop.com and see the full schedule of candidates that we are going to be interviewing over the next couple weeks. Again, this week is Newport. Next week is Middletown. The following week is Portsmouth. Sprinkling some gubernatorial candidates, some lieutenant governor candidates, Secretary of State, Attorney General, and others. So we have lots of interviews coming up. And this is our first one. And looks like we're having a little Wi-Fi issue on his side of things, which we'll give him a couple more seconds here to join us. His website is, let's see here, it is revolutionofcompassion.com, and you can find out more of his campaign, revolutionofcompassion.com, and you can read more about Eames as well as his history, his platform, his family history. His grandfather was Senator Pell, and you can read more about that and see some fun photos on there as well. And maybe what we are going to do, oh, here he is. Hi.
look, we're back.
All right. What are we going to do about internet in Newport?
I had to join. That's a great question. I have the modem thing right here, and it should be working completely fine, yet I just had to auto join my hotspot on my phone, and I specifically tested this, literally like holding this next to me. So that's a very good point, an issue that you bring up, because clearly there are flaws in it. And you're not the first person to mention that. You're not the first person. I have friends that have said it. I have had other people who have mentioned it. So yeah, I would say that goes into the infrastructure category.
Well, I mean, if Newport wants to bring in high-paying jobs, high-paying careers, people need to be able to work from home. People need to work from businesses and be able to connect to video. It's 2022. So.
I couldn't agree more. And the fact that I am literally right next to a very fancy modem, or what I think is, it's the Apple box, I would assume that it works. So that has to fall on Cox, and I would assume. And so, yes, that's another issue that I will directly fight for Newport residents on. I mean, that's like, again, I'm not an aggressive person. Love and kindness, compassion, golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. These are the core philosophies and principles by which I live. But as a result, it allows me to have that warrior spirit to take on the fights that are necessary. For example, things as simple as working from home, yeah, you should be able to have internet connection that works, or in general, have internet connection that works.
I shared your website while you were reconnecting there, revolutionofcompassion.com. Really how people have 7 candidates to choose from for 4 seats at large. What unique experience do you bring? Why should people vote to put you as one of the 4 at large?
I have no claws in my back. This is motivated sincerely by the desire to help people, to try and put all my energy towards how can I best serve the people that live in this city, the people who are feeling like they've been getting priced out, the people who are feeling like they've been left behind. And so for me, that is the top focus. And radical transparency, I've said it before, I will say it again. That is what is lacking. I think that with me, you are always going to not only find me accessible, but happy and willing to explain to the best of my ability whatever issue is that you're curious about. And if I don't understand it, there's a problem. If I can't explain it to you, then it's a problem. And I'm no brain surgeon by any means, but I think that we tend to make things very confusing when if only we were to, again, try and take that ego out of the equation, simplify things to the heart of what the problem actually is, the root, and then go for that, address that.
Excellent. And your website, one more time, I'll run it on the bottom here. While that's running there and people can write it down or whatever else they'd like to do. Are we doing enough with climate change?
No, absolutely not. And I think, quite honestly, everyone tends to switch into survival mode when, for example, gas prices are high, when they are having trouble paying their bills. And despite the fact that they care very deeply for the environment, priorities tend to shift towards family, which is completely understandable. But I believe we can do more. I think that the Inflation Reduction Act was the biggest step forward for climate change. And so I'm very, very happy to see that passed. And that really passed as a result of a lot of Rhode Island legislators making a difference. And so I'm very grateful for that. I had the honor of meeting Justice Kagan and recently, within the last couple of weeks, at Salve Regina, and she wrote an amazing dissent, her dissenting opinion on the Supreme Court, essentially saying, well, we're going to have a say in how climate change is ruled or be involved with this rather than the governing agency, the people that know about this, the EPA, is madness. And I respectfully dissent. Now, I am butchering the eloquent way in which she said that, but in so many words, that's basically what she said. This is not in the Supreme Court's realm to decide. This is for those that are knowledgeable about the subject and have devoted their lives to the subject, just as we have devoted our lives to the law. And so I think we can always be doing more. I am proud to see that we're making steps forward, but we got one planet, man. This is it. This is it. And the 7 billion people on that planet, we are all human beings. We are all connected. So yes, locally, I am very committed, absolutely devoted to my constituents, to the people who vote me in, but that's where the change has to begin, locally. And so that's exactly what I want to do and will do.
Excellent. Anything that we did not get to, or anything that you want to end with or wrap up with here?
Golden rule, brother. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Excellent. And one more time, revolutionofcompassion.com. And we appreciate you joining us today. Wish you the best of luck. Early voting starts October 19th. We are just a couple weeks away. And then November 8th for those who vote in person. So We are almost a month away from wrapping this up. So we wish you the very best of luck over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
All right. And thank you again. And that's going to wrap it up on this interview. If you missed any portion of it, want to watch it again, want to share it with anybody, you can find it on whatsupnoop.com. And we'll keep these going. And the full schedule is available on whatsupnoop.com as well. Thanks for watching.